This is Campaign 2007, brought to you by the News Herald and Lakeland Community College. Today we'll be having a discussion with the two candidates for mayor of Willoughby Hills. The incumbent is Ken Lorenz, and his challenger is Bob Wager, who is a member of City Council. I'm Jim Collins. I'm editor emeritus of the News Herald and executive in residence at Lakeland Community College, and with me is Tricia Ambrose, who's the executive editor of the News Herald. And we'll begin the conversation with a line of thought from Tricia.
Mr. Lorenz, thank you for joining us today. I'm wondering if you could tell me, and the people who are watching out there, what you think the greatest achievement of your time as mayor has been.
Opening up the transparency of city government. And what I mean by that is, when I came into office, we expanded the network of communications. We have a web page. There are numerous items on the web page, including information related to the Carroll County Airport and an update on the status of the airport. When I took office, I wanted to reinstitute the quarterly newsletter, the Old Hills Herald. That cost the city about $12,000 a year. And then I approached the Gazette, the Kirtland Gazette people, asked them if they put a publication into the city of Willoughby Hills, and they were excited about it, ecstatic. Now we've got publication coming to the city 10 times a year, 10 months out of 12, at no cost to the citizens. We also have an update project line. You can call it 24/7 on the Bishop Road project, as well as status of the sewer project. Communications, opening up the transparency of government.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Wager, what do you say to the same question for your time on council?
In the past 6 years, and actually the past 4 years, our city council has probably been one of the greatest councils in Willoughby Hills and probably Lake County. We've got a very diverse group of people that work together to solve problems. We've gone through quite a lot of large projects. The Bishop Road project is one of the projects that's coming near completion in October. Our sewer project started many years ago, but a couple phases have completed 2 years ago, and we're in the final phases, final portion of our final phases right now. We've brought respect, dignity, and integrity back to City Council. We're not in the newspapers every day for things that we have done. We work together, we work collectively, and we work for a common goal, and the goal is putting the residents first.
Okay, well, I'll start with you, Bob, and then Ken on this one. You say you're not in the headlines every day, but there are a lot of controversial things that have been in the papers, and one of them was the firing of the law director and the replacement with another law director. Just your thoughts on that particular subject. First Bob and then Ken.
My thoughts on the law director. We had a law director that was in place for 11 years. He was very open. He was very easy to get a hold of. He was very easy to work with, both with our council clerk and with the council. As being council president, I interacted with him quite a bit. When we learned of the firing of Mr. Willoughby, who was the former law director, we were surprised because he did nothing but an exemplary job on that. One of the things that we tried to understand what was the reasoning of that firing, and the only answer that we got was it was a philosophy change in the legal approach of the city. No other definition. And our current law director, Mr. Luskin, he's currently serving there. There's, we believe, some conflicts of interest there, being a prosecutor and also a public defender. It's very hard to separate those things, but we will try to work together to absolutely anything that is thrown our way. But as far as the working relationship, we're suffering on the council side of that because we don't have the accessibility to the law director that we might have had with Mr. Willoughby.
Okay, and Ken, your thoughts on that same subject.
That's an excellent question, Jim, and that may become a campaign issue, so now is a good time to clear the air. The city right now is going through an audit. They're auditing the year of 2005. And it's not going to be pretty. In fact, it's going to be devastating. We have two significant funds that have never been reported to council or the administration. Fund 251 and 291. Going back 2 finance directors, I call it the secret squirrel account because it was never reported, but numerous transactions came in and out of that account. When Brian Condren abruptly left the employment of the city of Willoughby Hills for another municipality, another finance director was hired, Larry Turnell. He came in, none of the records could be found. We had to order up bank statements from banks. Started poking around the computer in the finance office. Found Fund 251 and 291. 291 only had 1 transaction. 251 has had numerous transactions. When Larry Turnell reported to council and the state auditors when they're in the process of working on the year 2004, 251 came up, and he was critical of the previous finance director. In my opinion, that's when Larry Turnell's stature with City Council went downhill rapidly. In January of '07, Ray Samich met with Larry Turnell at Damon's and said, "Don't even think of quitting. Council supports you." In March, Larry Turnell sent a letter off to the state auditor's office asking for a forensic audit. March 15th, the response came back and said, "We're going to throw it back to the Cleveland office." During this process, council and the previous law director were very friendly with Brian Condren. They supported him, and I even think they support him today. When Larry Turnell realized that he was not making any headway, he made the choice to resign. He's now in Wyoming. I hired a new finance director, Andy Unetic, who came from the state auditor's office with 13 years experience of auditing. Cleaned up the mess in East Cleveland. His father, you may remember the name, 22 years, City of Wickliffe.
Is this going to get to the law director pretty soon?
Yes.
Okay.
When we found a great amount of discrepancies, I felt it was time to make a legal change. I brought in a person who has 18 years experience, captain, Cleveland Heights Police Department. 18 years as an attorney, practicing in the federal court system in Cleveland. I wanted a fresh approach. The good old boy network has to go, and we have fresh eyes looking at the situation. You're here to ask me questions, but I would ask you one question. Have you ever heard of Lorenz, LLC?
What?
Lorenz.
No, I'm sorry, I'm not on the receiving end of the question, sir. I don't know what you mean by that.
All right. Mr. Loby might know.
Okay, is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tricia?